it's looking real unlikely that the Niners will trade Trey Lance on draft night,
Mm-hmm.
barring some team giving him a second round pick, which I don't see happening, at least anytime soon. And then John Lynch said they're not trading Brandon Ayuk this year. So take those two off the table. What players do you think are most likely to get traded on draft night, if any?
I got three of them. So there's
Okay.
three of them. Let's take one. The other two play the same position, but the first one would be possibly Javon Kinlaw if they can get anything that makes it worth it. And let me give you another answer at the end too of what I think was actually going to be traded. But if they're going to trade a player, I could see them being willing to move on Javon Kinlaw because they could save some money by doing that. It's just, are they really going to get much for him? That's kind of the question. So that's the first one. The other one,
What I would do with Kinlaw is I wouldn't trade him for a pick because I think a pick is probably not worth much. He's probably not worth much. But what you could do is trade him for another player, someone who was another first round pick like him, who maybe has had injury issues or the team has replaced. They got a guy like the Niners got Hargrave. That'd be perfect. A 1-for-1 swap where the Niners can say we love this guy coming out. We gave him a first round grade, and the next team can say we love Kinlaw coming out. That would be. It's what the Niners did with AJ Jenkins. They flipped him for Jonathan Baldwin, who was another first round pick who disappointed. I forget which team, Kansas City,
and it would give him a fresh start. But I'll tell you what, Kinlaw does look great, man. So maybe he bounces back. Maybe it'd be a mistake. I don't know, but he looks great right now. But I think he's one of the guys that I think I could see them parting with on draft night. Okay, the other two play the same position. To me, it's going to come down to possibly being Elijah Mitchell or TDP because they traded last year. They traded Trey Sermon, who was their third round pick the year before. Mm-hmm. This year, that same guy is TDP. So they have CMC. They have Jordan Mason, who looked amazing. Do you really need both TDP and Elijah Mitchell? You'll probably get more for Elijah Mitchell, but I think you could probably move TDP. And also, Kyle Shanahan always wants to draft that running back. I know there's a damn running back in this draft that Kyle Shanahan has on his wall that he would love to go get. And if that's the case, do you really need 5 running backs now? So I could see one of these running backs being moved.
Yeah, they traded Trey Sermon like right before cut down date because they were going to cut him. And I forget what they got for him, but I think it was like
a 5th?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it a pick swap?
I think it was a 5th, wasn't it?
49ers trade Trey Sermon. I'd like to know. What did they get? No, they traded up for him. They traded up for him. Right. No, they claimed him off. No, they waived him. They freaking waived him, and the Eagles claimed him off waivers. Really? I believe. Yes. So I think Ty Davis Price. If they draft a running back, I think they'll waive Ty Davis Price, and they could trade Elijah Mitchell, but I think he's probably worth a 5th or a 4th, like Jeff Wilson. Maybe a little bit more than Jeff Wilson, but he's got a lot of injuries. He's had a lot of injuries, so maybe a 4th or a 5th.
They traded him. Tripping.
I know. I thought they did too, but no, he got claimed off waivers. I just feel like the Niners have so many injuries at running back. Like, if they do bring in another guy, bring them all to camp. See who's healthy, because 1 or 2 guys may get injured straight up in practice. Remember Jerick McKinnon tore his ACL in practice. See who you get. See who's healthy when it's cut down day before you start sending guys away for picks that may not make your team.
Yeah,
I'm saying
I could see them trading one of these running backs. I could see Elijah Mitchell. But here, what I really think is going to happen, I don't think they're going to trade Kinlaw. I don't think they're going to trade running backs. But what I do think they're going to do is trade up in the draft. I don't think they're going to draft 11 players. I would be really surprised if that's what happens.
I got one. I put this on Twitter, but I think it's interesting. I think in 2021, the number 1 quarterback on the Niners draft board was Zach Wilson. I believe that. I can't prove it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the Jets took him over the Niners and the Jets came from the Niners organization, I think they were in lockstep that guy was just a beautiful natural thrower. And I think they want to get rid of him in New York, not because he sucks at passing, but because they can't stand him as a guy. The team, the players, I think they just want that guy out of their building. Who would say no to a Trey Lance, Zach Wilson swap? I just talked about a Javon Kinlaw swap with another first round pick, someone you could give a grass is greener type thing. Send Trey Lance to the Jets. Let him learn behind Aaron Rodgers and bring West Coast Zach Wilson over here was getting shredded by the New York media. You're shaking your head. I know.
No, it won't happen.
But no, it won't happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The same reason that the Jets don't want him is the same reason the Niners won't trade for him. At least with Trey Lance, you got a good guy that's loved in the locker room that, does all the right things, says all the right things. Why trade for Zach Wilson? But I do agree with you that they probably would, if they had the opportunity, they probably would have took Zach Wilson at the time. But now that they know what they know, Salah's probably told them, everybody knows what's up with Zach Wilson.
It's just that Zach Wilson reminds me a little bit of Sam Darnold in the sense of kind of West Coast guy who's very West Coast and then goes to New York and just gets shredded for being to this and to that, just like Darnold on the same team. And then you bring him out here, it's a whole different thing. The media is not down your throat, and people kind of recognize, like, hey, you're just kind of like me. So
Zach Wilson is a small market, Grant. Look, so Zach
Chargers would be perfect.
He's from Draper, Utah. I lived in Sandy, Utah, actually, which is the town right next to it. I lived there for a couple of years. And we think of it as West Coast. It's not. It's Utah. It's different. Different beast out there. He needs to go to small market. Too bad Utah doesn't have a football team. That'd be perfect for him.
You know what would be a good small market for him? Arizona. But it's a crap team and franchise. Wouldn't exactly get him back on his feet. But boy, I can't think of a team with fewer fans.
Yeah, he needs to go with like a Carolina or something like that. I think that would be better for him.
Michael McCann says Niners can't trade for Lamar. His 23andMe doesn't fit the criteria for the Cabo click. Ooh.
Shit.
Ooh. But his wallet will make for an awkward conversation. Yeah. The Cabo click. I just feel like you can't deny that all those guys wear that same bussin' with the boys hat. Yeah. It's such a fratty thing. It's so fratty.
Yeah.
It's so fratty.
Yeah.
I was in a frat though. I was in fraternity at UCLA. I can't act like I wasn't.
Can we be honest though? What are like 75-80% of the guests on that show have in common?
I don't watch that show. I don't know.
They're Caucasian.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of black football players in the NFL busting with the boys. Just so you know, you can invite a couple on every now and then.
What is busting with? To me, that's classic, like taking a word that's not yours and like using it not knowing what it means.
I think
busting with the boys. Whose boys?
They're on a bus. Boys? So that's what busting means. But when I was growing up, if you say I'm busting with the boys, we would have said that was a little suspect.
True. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. Anyway,
if they watch this shit, we're gonna be killing it. Yeah.
Also, I feel like Pat McAfee show is very much like that.
Yeah.
Busting
with the boys, part 2.
Yeah, man, it's just
busting with the boy.
Fraternity humor. Very fraternity-ish humor. And again, I was in a fraternity, Sigma Nu, UCLA. Shout out to all my brothers. But I never lived in it. And I don't know why I was in it to begin with. I think I wanted to party in college. That was it. I think that was it. What I learned, because it's like, there's two kind of people. There's the people that go to UCLA. I mean, they go to college and like rush right off the bat. Like fresh fall quarter, this is what my brother did it and I want to do it. And there's the people that go to school and like, I'm not going to do that. And then you try to get into the parties and have a normal social life, and they realize that like no fraternity wants you in because you're a guy and you're a freshman. So then you're like, damn. And then in the spring, you're like, okay, I'll do it. And you kind of like hold your nose and yeah. And it's like, man, that was probably a bad decision at 19 years old. Shout out to Sigma Nu, though. Shout out to Sigma Nu.
I don't think they would have let me in if I, pledged? Yeah, I don't think they would.
That's true, right? Yeah. My frat was pretty cool, though. We threw a really good party. We were like the Animal House.
There you go, Animal House.
But it was just like so hard. Like if I had lived there, I would have flunked out of school. So it was like, this is ridiculous. I can't do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's fraternities.